There's all of them are taken.
Yes, that's right.
Thank
Oh,
you.
yeah, of course. Yeah, well, there's some things.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go now.
Yeah. Would you go over here?
Pardon, excusez-moi.
How are you? Well, how are you doing? I haven't seen you in 1 year. No, since coming.
No, no, no.
How are you? You're Ellen?
Ellen.
Ellen?
Yeah.
I'm Ellen.
Yeah, I can take a chair.
This is
Amit.
Amit. I know Amit. Your mother is in Israel. She's where?
Yeah, you're right.
She's in Israel now. Okay. And this is Amir. No. Pardon, comment vas-tu? Merci. Niki, ça va bien?
It's not working.
Ben,
Trying everything, but
No, I'm
il dit maintenant qu'il veut enlever son.
Allez, put it in plastic.
Ouch.
Let me get you napkin.
I'm not an easy driver. I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, maybe it's probably many wrong. Thank you.
And it's really.
And
We have a rough. Okay.
I am.
One.
And what's your
Oh, I
Yeah, if I think yeah, yeah.
No worries.
No, it's good. It's
How are you?
important. I know my name is Dan. Everyone else gets it wrong.
Yeah, I forgot the name.
Okay, bye.
Hello.
Amazing.
how much is
But it's in order. Drop there. So it's.
Shlomo's taking care of everyone over here.
Okay, nice to see you, Rabbi Blotner. I know you can't see me.
Probably Israel.
Is that
Welcome. Thank you.
Is that what's his name?
Akiva. Yes, your good friend.
Yeah, that sounds right. Right. Who else is in the shir? What other precious Jews of Etobickoe has joined you this evening?
Just a quick hello to the crowd.
Ah, so nice to see everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to the happiest place on earth, right?
That's right. Find the secret.
Let's get serious about happiness. Is that the topic of today?
That's right.
Fabulous. It's good to see you, Rabbi. Good to see all your friends.
Baruch
To see
Hashem.
that the
Pleasure's mine.
Sparks. Okay. I don't have the camera on because simply I'm driving and it's dark
No worries.
anyway.
No worries. No worries.
So go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay. Welcome. The l'chaim's on its way. I'll start off with a little l'chaim on my tea, and you could say a little l'chaim on your soup. Before we say l'chaim, we make a bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shahakol nihya bidvaro. And l'chaim. So as my dear friend Rabbi Akiva from GZL, Gam Zoom Latova. If you have any events that you would like to Zoom live, as a whole, Zooming company, you can reach out. And tonight's class and the series, everyone participated and gave their part. But there's always the overhead, and there's a lot that it costs. And we thank our series sponsors, co-sponsors, which is GZL, Gam Zoom Latova, as well as Benjamin's at Yad Vashem Landmark, and Mr. and Mrs. Bernie Rotman for their generosity and making this Torah class possible. It's we always like firsts. So last year we had the first Torah classes upstairs in the new location. It's the first Torah class series in the Chabad house. Yeah, last time we had it in the dining room. This place was still under construction, but this year, Baruch Hashem, it's here. And you never know, maybe by next year we'll have a bigger Chabad house. We're going to need to, grow out the space. So wanted to welcome everyone. And as we said, let's get serious about happiness. It's the first of a 6-part series. This is first of a 6-part series about happiness and how happiness thinks. Now, if you saw the little promo that was sent out before, happiness is one of the hottest topics. Everyone's trying to figure out how to be happy, what's happy, when's happy. But I'm going to, I'll tell you that we're going to take a little bit of a different approach. We're not going to give you so much therapy over here. We're going to think together, and we're going to venture into the Jewish perspective of happiness, which is very unique and very interesting. And we'll come together. It's not a lecture; it's a course, and it's an activity together that we're going to go on a journey, and we're going to go through a journey of happiness and a journey of what exactly how happiness thinks. And already by the end of this class today, we're going to know why the series is called by that name. And then over the next few weeks, we're going to venture into different parts of it, and hopefully we'll come out of this every week happier people and more wholesome people. So tonight's class begins just over yonder with a question mark. Now, some of us know what yonder is, some of us don't. And not to sound fancy, but it's a question that we ask that, where is happiness? Is it at the end of the rainbow? How can I find it? How can I get in touch with it? How can I experience it? And what our happiness is going to entail. Interestingly enough, a lot of people, again, also in like the philosophy department, people like to say, hey, is there a difference between joy and happiness? And in English, definitely the words are actually interchangeable, even though you might have some poetic differences. But ultimately, joy and happiness, especially in this course, is going to be interchangeable. So if you hear the word joy, if you hear the word happiness, it's not like, oh, why did he say it this time? And why the other? So this course is actually a course created by JLI, Jewish Learning Institute, and they have a very, very high quality learning curriculums that they create. It's their base is, could have guessed it, 5 doors down from 770 in Brooklyn, and they have created hundreds of courses. And this, How Happiness Thinks, is actually the most attended course that they had. In all the years, they've been doing courses in 15, 20 years, and there's a tremendous amount and great courses. How Happiness Thinks so far has gotten the highest attendance, and therefore they've reintroduced it and made it possible. And I was able to get a hold of it. We were able to purchase and we're able to use it here to share these tremendous thoughts. This is our fall season, and there's also going to be a winter course that's going to be in after January, which we'll talk about then. We won't jump the gun. I found it to be fascinating how organized and how it really builds up, and you hit like the peak, and it's like such a aha moment and so empowering. Like when I went over this a few times, and every time there was like, wow, like I'm wowed by it. So I'm excited to share it with you, because I know each and every one of you will walk out tonight and be like, wow, that there's going to be a wow factor. So for starters, what's the advantage of happiness? If you look at page 2, and we'll go around a little bit, we'll start. Daniel, would you like to begin?
Sure.
What's the happiness advantage? And if you look at page 2, you'll find it right there.
The happiness advantage. We all strive for happiness, not just because it feels good, but because it enhances nearly every part of life. Thinking more clearly, act more confidently, feel a deeper connection to something greater. What gives happiness this extraordinary power?
Why is it happiness that's like everyone's seeking? There's a lot of other emotions. What's special about happiness? And here on page 3, this is your book. You purchased it, you own it, you even opened up, you did the inauguration, you opened up the package, and it's yours to write in. So I'm going to give a minute to do this little exercise number 1, and you read through these questions. I'm going to read the questions just for the people who are online who don't yet have the book. By next session, they'll have the book. The first question is side effects of happiness. To what degree do our circumstances, like our family, resources, career, etc., impact our overall happiness? Number 2 is what are some challenges to living a life of happiness? What's preventing us from that? Number 3, one can be happier if. This is great. What would make a person happier? Number 4, what are some benefits of living happily? Finally, why does happiness have so many positive side effects?
We'd be happy to hear, Rabbi Blotner. We'd be happy to hear.
Very well, very well. So I'm going to give another minute or two just to fill out those questions. In the mornings, I teach grade 7, so I have to make a preface that this is not a test. I'm not grading you on your answers. Whatever you answer is correct, and it's important. I'm going to wrap this up in just another 30 seconds, and then we're going to see a short clip, short film. I know, Mickey, you like those those were meditations in the past class. These are a little bit lighter. We're going to see a short clip, a little bit about happiness in just another 15 seconds. Okay.
I suggest those who are on Zoom and are concerned about being interactive in the class, Rabbi Blotner, because all we hear is silence. So those people on Zoom are concerned maybe their audio is not working. So you're not having technical difficulties. I think it's just thinking time in class. Is that correct? People are busy writing. Or you're showing the...
I was showing a film.
The video.
Oh, okay. So I guess they couldn't hear the audio from the film. Is there any audio in it?
I think if you allow me to share, then I could share.
All right.
On the Zoom, if you allow me to share, then I can share the audio and also the visual of what I have on my screen.
Okay.
So, we saw that happiness is pretty powerful. The question is why? What is it about happiness that gives that positive side effects? We just heard there's quite a few positive side effects. Who wouldn't want to have those longevity, great relationships, lifelong good stuff? So what is it about happiness? Is it like this magical potion? What's about happiness that gives us these positive side effects? So we hop into one of the most fundamental texts in Hasidic and Kabbalah literature, which is the Tanya. And in the Tanya, this is a very iconic chapter in Tanya, which is chapter 26. It's known about to be the chapter of joy, a chapter that speaks about what real joy is all about. Would you like to read? It's on page 5, text number 1.
This should be made known as a cardinal principle. The internal spiritual battle waged against one's negative impulses is similar to a physical wrestling match. If two individuals are wrestling with each other, each striving to fell the other, but one is lazy and lethargic, he would fall and be easily defeated, even if he is stronger than his opponent. The same applies regarding the conquest of one's impulses. It is impossible to defeat them from a state of laziness and heaviness, which stem from sadness and a dull heart. They can be defeated only from a state of enthusiasm, which derives from happiness and a heart free of any trace of worry and sadness.
So there's an interesting, we just did an exercise. A friend of mine who's also giving this course suggested that we try to act it out. I said, I don't know if it's great to have two people wrestle. One person is stronger, but is a little bit depressed, and one person is smaller, more meek, but is happy. Who's going to win?
The happy one.
The happy one. The happy one wins. Not because they have a better tactic, or not because they're, could come up with something better. It's because they're happy. And that's what the Alter Rebbe, Vishner Zalman, he says that happiness has this impulse, this special decisive edge that it propels the person. And a person who's propelled and has self-mastery ends up accomplishing more. When you have a drive, you could be extremely capable. People are extremely capable. People could do anything. They have so many artistic talents or other talents, but if they don't have a drive, it's not going to take them anywhere. Happiness is that drive. Happiness has that oomph, gives that oomph to life. And what happiness also does is very interesting. It exposes the part of us that sometimes is hidden. It says that when a person's happy, even a person sometimes who has negative traits, even like a mean person, when they're happy, they could be nice. They could be quite nice. Why? Because they're happy. And happiness brings out a certain revelation of a person's self. So here we said that happiness is a prerequisite to self-mastery. If you want to be, do anything, if you want everything successful related, whether it's a job, whether it's a diet, whether it's a plan, whether it's an investment, it comes with self-discipline, self-mastery. You can't take a hold of yourself if you're not happy. We experience it so many times in our life that we could have plans, but if we don't have that push, and that push comes from happiness. When a person joy reveals, joy also exposes the talents that we might have that have been hidden. So not only does it propel those things that we do have, it actually brings to surface some of the talents that we didn't realize we even have. And if you see on the mirror, on text number 2, self-revelation, this is from the fifth Chabad Rebbe, Rabbi Shalom Dovber, and he says something interesting. He says, what is a characteristic of joy? And Simone, would you like to read text number 2?
The nature of joy is to grant value. That is, joy tends to break through the various limitations and restrictions of the human character. When the faculties of a person first emerge from a state of potential, they each take a certain definition and shape. Human joy breaks through this default state. When we are joyous, we tap into and reveal the perfect but latent potential of our character, and we are then empowered to behave in a different and enhanced manner.
So when we change perspectives, and if we end up being in a happy mode, then we unlock the potential that we haven't reached yet. So that's the second stage. Now, what does it accomplish a little bit beyond, okay, so now, I could draw, or I never knew that I was good at math, and now that I'm a little bit more happy, the numbers just start ringing. It doesn't always work like that. But there is something very interesting. And however magical it sounds, there is something to that. There is something to the fact is when we're happy, we actually create, not just, we said that here's a step further. We actually create a certain reality. And this is from the Zohar, the Kabbalah, the source of Kabbalah 101. There's actually a fascinating passage in the Zohar. There was a chassid, there was a big philanthropist and a great chassid living in Brooklyn some 30, 40 years ago. His name was Rabbi Zalman Garari. And he would speak to the Rebbe. He was very close with the Rebbe. And he came in often to discuss his melancholy, disposition. And one time, the Rebbe told him that, the Rebbe told him to take out, the Rebbe stood up and took out a Zohar. The Rebbe had a whole library in his office, took out a Zohar and opened it to a page, which that in his own right, he always would say, like, so happens that the Rebbe walked over to the shelf and opened, punked to the right page. And the Rebbe showed him this passage. And it's a pretty powerful, and this was one of the wows, and it's going to come along more. Passage, text number 3. Andre, would you like to read?
Come and observe. Our word is always read with the spiritual flow that emanates from above. The upper world provides in accordance with the state below. If the state below is joyous, abundance flows from above. But if the state below is one of sadness, the flow of blessing is constricted. Therefore, serve God with joy.
That's pretty amazing. We usually like to view things that, God has whatever it is planned for us. And, we do good things, we could tap into it. And, we do things that aren't 100%, we miss out on it. Here, the Zohar is telling us, look, and it doesn't even say you should know. It says, look, realize that this is the reality, that it's a mirror image. When you are happy, it's not just that you expose your potentials. You are creating and you're generating a whole new experience. You are bringing down blessings that otherwise wouldn't be able to be brought. So you have two people, they could be going through the same situation or maybe have the same destiny, so to say, and one of them is going to be happy. They could create a reality in their happiness. This is pretty crazy. And what's interesting is you would think, and many times people, think, oh, if I'm happy, it has to be some like has to be happy about a mitzvah, which there's a concept of being happy and doing a mitzvah. It has to be happy with God, but you heard it here first from the rabbi himself. That's not necessarily the fact. Being happy in the sense of just positive energy, as we call it, good vibes nowadays, that's what we say. Just that in itself, even not connected directly to Torah study, is very, very advantageous. And there's actually a fascinating story. My father actually likes to say over the story often, and it's written in the Talmud. And the students, two students came over to their Rebbe, and they said, "Could you show us? We're going to go to the market. Those days they would have a market date. We're going to go to the market. Could you show us a couple people that are going to go to Olam Haba, that are going to go to paradise, or going to have, the world to come?" And they're waiting for him to point out, like that saintly-looking rabbi, or that woman who's doing chesed and feeding the birds and giving everyone, sweets. And he's walking through the market with his students, and he points out in the corner, there's two comedians, two jokesters. And everyone who walks by, they do a little trick with the cards, and this, that. I don't know about cards. Cards are questionable. But, a little bit, here's my ring, watch it disappear, like Jack always likes to do with the kids. A little joke, a little smile. And, okay, they walk by him. And the rabbi says, "Those two guys that we just passed by, those comedians," they're like, "Yeah, what about them?" "They are actually going to have Olam Haba. They're going to have the world to come." And they're like, "Those guys?" And they're like, "Oh, probably they're like hidden tzaddikim. They're probably like really these great hidden rabbis that are just pretending to be simple." He's like, "No, no, no. Those guys are as simple as it gets. They're just a bunch of jokesters." So he said, but why?" He said, "Because they bring joy to other people. And the fact that they bring joy to other people is already enough reason for them to have Olam Haba," which is pretty fascinating. And this is why it's saying, if you notice the first two words, usually give you a crash course on Talmud study, usually it says tashma. Tashma means come and hear. Come, listen to this passage. In the Zohar, it commonly does say tachazi, come and see. But the Rebbe points out, you know why it says tachazi over here? Why it says say come and see, that come and observe, our world is ready to receive. And it tells us about being happy. The Rebbe said, it's not something you have to have faith. It's not something you have to listen and believe. It's something you could literally see with your own eyes. You could play it out, try it. You'll see. When you are happy, and when you take a happy mode of conduct and of thinking, which we're going to speak in a moment, you'll literally see things change, and you'll see the mirror image. You'll just see it happen. Now, in Judaism, as us Jews like to, they say Jews love to commiserate. Yeah, we like to kvetch, and this and that, and every little while, Baruch Hashem, last week we had a good reason to kvetch. At the beginning of the week, we lost the World Series, and now we could kvetch. We hear about the elections in New York, and the tariffs, and this. We always have a good reason to kvetch. And I guess kvetching has a good place too. But in truth, we do say that tears, the doors of tears are never closed, right? We speak about this on Yom Kippur. It says that the gates of tears never close. When someone is genuine and someone cries out to God, whether it's to repent, whether it's for help, if someone cries, tears are powerful. It says that the hot tears melt away the doors and the gates of heaven. When tears come in, it opens. There was a Hasidic Rebbe, and you'll see in text number 4. He was known as the Sasover, or Moshe Leib Sasov, and he was in the 1700s, and he said something very interesting. He said, tears are good, and they have their place, and they're necessary, but you want to hear about joy? Oh, you got to hear something. And listen to Roberto. Oh, perfect person to speak about joy. Roberto.
Joy is loftier than tears. The heavenly gates remain open for our tears, As the Talmud says, the gates of tears are no locked.
That's great. But
Joy, however, demolish and pulverize the supernal walls and barriers.
look at that. Tears, with tears, the gates are never locked. But joy will break barriers. Tears, you still got to go through gates. You got to this, got to that. With joy, you have an easy pass. You're on the 407 all day long. There's no one stopping you. Are there cops on the 407? But tears are powerful, and not to diminish them. But joy breaks barriers. Joy breaks through anything that might be holding us back, and it has a very strong power, and it's even more. And the experience of joy and displaying joy and using joy as one of our techniques is more powerful than tears, and it could have a very powerful effect on us, and a powerful effect on our, I guess, life vision and how things play out. So I think we all agree, coming to the closure of the first section of tonight, we all agree that joy is good. Joy, okay, you convinced me. Joy is good. Yeah, okay. Sounds like joy, you could accomplish a lot with joy. And I'm sold. I'm ready to be happy. Sounds great. Check. The question is how, why, or more than why is what if? Does joy always work? It sounds like a great plan, but it's almost like before my first flight, when I flew, I'm not a pilot, for my first flight, I was in 8th grade, I was visiting family, and I flew from Boston to Arizona to my brother. And before the flight, I was so nervous. It was my first time flying on a plane. I didn't know what to do. So nervous. And I remember someone was telling me, a classmate of mine who flew already to Florida a bunch of times, he says, don't be nervous. I was like, oh, that's easy. Don't be nervous. Don't be nervous. So we're convinced, fine. Joy is good. How, what, when? So let's focus over here. And if you're on Zoom, please eyes to the screen. Here it is. So this was very loaded. What we just saw, it was powerful, but it's loaded, and I want to take it apart a little bit together. So if we begin with Jacob on page 9, happiness versus simcha, the Hebrew word versus the English term.
People often see happiness as a result of good fortune, a feeling that follows when life goes smoothly. But in Jewish thought, joy is viewed differently, not as a byproduct of circumstance, but a mindset that we can control.
It's very interesting. And this leads us to another little exercise. And again, if you're good with stats and numbers, and you'll have to help everyone figure out how to get the answer and the score at the end. But if you look at the page 10, you could look at this, take a quick, for each of the following statements or questions, circle on a scale that you feel is most appropriate describing you. In general, I consider myself either not a very happy person or a very happy person. You circle where you find yourself. Compared to most of my peers, I consider myself less happy or more happy. Some people are generally very happy. Excuse me, they enjoy life regardless of what is going on, getting the most out of everything. To what extent does this characterization describe you? Not at all, or a great deal. And final question, some people are generally not very happy, although they're not depressed. They never seem as happy as they might be. To what extent does this categorize you? This characterization describe you? Again, not so much or a great deal. And you could figure out the score. This is an exercise where we're grading ourselves on how happy or unhappy or how we perceive our happiness to be. And then there's a whole grading system, which we grade now. We could need a good Jewish accountant. Help you with the numbers afterwards, right? Tell me what's a good number to have, okay? I'll have that. Okay. As you're figuring it out or struggling with your happiness, let's have a little etymology class. And that is the study of words. So we just ventured into it, and this has really covered a lot of it. But this is also something that I never paid attention to, is in Hebrew, if you know Hebrew, Hebrew always has a shorish, always has a base of a word. So, for example, the word bisimcha means with happiness or pleasure. The source of the word, the shorish, is sameach. There's a three-letter word. In English, doesn't usually happen like that. It doesn't usually occur that you're going to have, if you're going to have a long word, not necessarily could you find 3 letters in the word that are the core of the word. It's just the whole word that makes up the word. Happiness is unlike that. It has a shorish. It has a base that it's based off. What does hap mean? Or happy, happiness. Hap means luck, like happenstance or haphazard. Another is hapless. These are just terms of like just so happened. So the way the word came about in English is that you know why you're happy? Well, you're going to be happy if you have luck, if good things happen to come your way, thus you will be happy. In Judaism, however, if you take the word simcha, it doesn't mean happen, doesn't mean luck, doesn't mean mazal. It means simcha. Simcha means joy. And the Arizal takes the Rishon Bar Yochai, in the Zohar, he takes these words and he says, right over here in the, if you look in text number 6, Venki, would you like to read text number 6? The short one, straight to the point.
Great. The letters forming the Hebrew word simha are the same letters that spell machshava.
Look at that. So he says, look at the letters that create the word. The word machshava, which we have on the board over here, machshava is the same exact letters as bisimcha. Same exact letters. Look at that.
Yeah.
Same exact Hebrew letters. You just swap it around. So our mind is in control of our happiness. So that's twofold. Number one, that means that we are able to be happy when we want. And we're also going to see our perspective will make us happier or less happy. So, they say, who are the two most happy kings? This is really a question that's asked to teenagers. Who are the two happiest kings? Drink king and smoke king. That's what the teens think. But they say money won't make you happy, right? But they say it's cheaper than not cheaper, but sometimes it's easier to get than Prozac. So people say, hey, money will make you happy, but ultimately we know that there's a little bit different. Our mindset could affect our happiness. So now, if our mindset could affect our happiness, why is it not that the common? What's the other perspective of the happenstance? Is the common misconception, which we all know is not true, is that more things make us happy, right? That's what people think. The more you have, the happier you'll be. But we see in this generation specifically, we have a tremendous amount more than other people have or had in the past, and yet we're not happier. If you look in text number 5, which really we should have read before, but going back for a second to text number 5, Tom, would you like to read text number 5? An interesting study from the 60s to now.
In the United States, rates of depression are 10 times higher today than they were in the 1960s, and the average age for the onset of depression is 14 and a half, compared to 29 and a half in 1960. A study conducted in American colleges tells us that nearly 45% of students were so depressed that they had difficulty functioning. Other countries are following in the footsteps of the United States. In 1957, 52% in Britain said they were very happy, compared to 36% in 2005, despite the fact that the British have tripled their wealth over the last half century. With the rapid growth in the Chinese economy comes a rapid growth in the number of adults and children who experience anxiety and depression. According to the Chinese Health Ministry, the mental health status of our country's children and youths is indeed worrying. While levels of material prosperity are on the rise, so are levels of depression, even though our generation in most Western countries, as well as in increasing numbers of places in the East, is wealthier than previous generations. We are not happier for it. A leading scholar in the field of positive psychology, Mihaly, asked a simple question with complex sentences. If we are so rich, why aren't we happy?
Right? We have so much more than they did in yesteryear, and yet we're not walking around much happier. So this sheds a little bit of light, but it needs a little bit more unpacking. That the concept of thought is what gives us happiness. It's not the pursuit of items, but it's a mind change. Because if it was the pursuit of items or places or things, then that's a pretty sad reality. because not all of us, if happiness is circumstantial, if they say, oh, good weather brings you happiness, well, not all of us could just relocate to Hawaii for the rest of our life. It's just not going to work. And not all of us could change our circumstances of where we are, what relationship we're in, our financial status, our personal limits. So we're doomed. We're just gonna never be happy. So this is where the Zohar and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's message of machshava, of thought, is quite powerful. Because to change your thought, that's much easier. To change a perspective is much easier than to change your circumstances. Right? Say Chaim sees his friend Sam after a bunch of years. He says, "Oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in so long. Tell me how's life? Tell me one word. How's life?" He says, "Good." He says, "Okay, great. Now in 2 words." He says, "Not good." You could change it. It could change very easily. So we have to. Our perspective is really what changes. And I want to invite you to hop to the back to the appendix text 15. You go to the back. I'm not sure if it's after the first class or it's all the way in the back. I think it's after the first class.
Where do we go?
No, all the way in the back.
Oh, after the car.
Kidding. Trying to find it. Heck. Let's see if we can get it in a couple seconds.
30.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's after this class. 30.
Pardon?
30.
Page 30?
Yeah, page 30.
Yeah.
Now, you need a point for this. Point slowly to read this very powerful, called The Worst Day Ever. Anna Marie, you're going to love this. Could you please read it slowly?
Matter of Perspective by Chani Gorkin. The worst day ever. The poetry?
Mm-hmm.
Today was the absolute worst day ever. I don't try to convince me that there is something good in every day, because when you take a look, or a closer look rather, this world is a pretty evil place. Even if some goodness does shine through once in a while, satisfaction and happiness don't last. And it is not true that it's all in the mind and heart, because true happiness can be attained only if one's surroundings are good. I don't agree with that. If it's not true that good exists, I am sure you can agree that the reality creates my attitude. It's all beyond my control. And you'll never in a million years hear me say that today was a very good day. Well, I don't agree with all of it.
Read the next two lines.
Read it from the bottom. Oh, that's excellent. To the top, the other way, and see what I read about this.
Now, could you read it again?
Yeah, today was a very good day. You'll never in a million years hear me say that. It's all beyond my control. It's my attitude which creates the reality. And I'm sure you can agree that it is not true that good exists, only if one's surroundings are good. Excellent. True happiness can be attained because it's all in the mind and the heart. And it's not true that satisfaction and happiness don't last. Some goodness does shine through once in a while, even if the world is a pretty lousy place. Because when you take a closer look, there's something good in every day. And don't try to convince me that today was the absolute worst day ever.
I think we all experienced the message of this poem.
She was only 17.
Yeah,
She wrote
just a few years ago. It was in like 2005, I think.
Yeah,
2015. It wasn't long ago. So ultimately, it's really all in the perspective, and we realize that trying to attain more won't make us happier, and the reason is because they call it the hedonic treadmill. And it just means it goes more and more and more, because the way that a human being works is that when we are used to something, that becomes the new status quo, and then we want more. And if happiness and satisfaction comes from, us getting more, then there's going to be a certain point of time when we're going to need more, and we're going to need more, and we're going to need more. So we're going to see over here, we'll see this come to light. And why is it that having more doesn't automatically result in happiness?
No.
You would think it does. I have more.
No.
You give someone, they say, if you give someone $100, it's not going to make him happy. But if you give him $100,000, he probably will make him happy, right? At least it'll make him happy for a few minutes, right?
Mhm.
But why is that not with everything? Just a person can have physical things and it'll make them happy. So we need to take a step a little bit deeper. And there's a parable of gratitude. And I'm going to summarize the parable. And it's actually summarized over here.
Page
It's
14.
a little bit of a longer one.
Are we going back to page
If
14?
you would like to read it. Yes, back to page 14.
Thank you.
The hedonic treadmill, text number 7.
14. That's it. Okay.
While modern life offers more comfort and convenience than ever, happiness remains elusive. We often take for granted the good we already have and seem to constantly crave more. Why doesn't abundance deliver the satisfaction we expect? Oh, it's down here too.
Yeah, parable.
There was once an infant found in the desert by a kind-hearted individual. This benevolent person took pity on the child, carried him home, brought him up, fed him, clothed him, and provided him generously with all that was good, until the child was old enough to understand and comprehend the many benefits he had received. The same benefactor heard of someone who had fallen into the hands of his enemy and had for a long time been treated with extreme cruelty, starved, and kept naked. The benevolent person appeased the enemy and convinced him to free the prisoner and forgive his debt. The kind individual brought the man to his home, but the kindness provided to this man was a fraction of the kindness shown to the infant.
So it was later on in his life. And which person do you think is going to show more appreciation to this kind man? What do you think? The child who grew up with this adopted parent, or this person who saw the contrast of where they were and where they are now? Most likely the latter.
Yeah, latter.
Most likely the person who was rescued later on in life. And this is a parable that the Chovos Halavavos, which speaks about belief in Hashem and trust in God, says that many times our perspective of happiness or a lack thereof is because of exactly this. We are born, we're breathing, we have a lot of our needs met, we have our life, we have so many other blessings, and we take them for granted. All of a sudden, when something, when an issue happens, that's when we notice, the advantage of that. So when we notice our blessings. So there's a concept of gratitude, of noticing the good things that happen. And possibly the reason that we're not happy at times is because we don't notice things aren't a novelty anymore. We're used to being able to eat. We're used to being able to talk. We're used to being able to walk. So, be happy about that. I'm gotten used to it already. And sometimes we end up looking what we don't have and say, hey, I want that. And that's where the problem comes. And that's where we try to, we want more. And then when we have, and if you want more, then they say the more you have, the more you want, right? There's actually a line over here from, I think it's the next text, or it's a little bit further. Right here, number 8. Number 8 is that text. Amit, could you please read it?
We don't manage to leave this world with even apple for desires fulfilled. When we have 100, we want to turn it into 200. When we have 200, we want to make it out of 400.
Right? So the Rebbe actually would always speak about this in a good way. The Rebbe would always say, hey, if you're doing good, you're already satisfied with the good you're doing, you got to do more. Someone would say, Rabbi, I built, someone came by the Rebbe and he said that he built a mikveh. He sponsored a mikveh to be built in a city. It's an incredible mitzvah. And the Rebbe said, amazing, that's beautiful. The Rebbe said, okay, so when are the next 9 mikvahs going to be built? The guy's like, whoa! And the Rebbe said, if you have the ability to do one, that means you have the ability to do more. So, what we already have fails to make us happy, and the tendency is to seek more, and the outcome is going to be the same. We're going to want more, and we're not going to be happy with it. So, what's the cause of this human trait? If you think to yourself, what might be the cause of this human trait? Anyone wants to share? Instead of writing it down, maybe we could share it. Yes? Greed. Okay. Fine. That makes it evil, but that could be great. Greed. What else?
Could it be it helps survival?
Seeking perfection.
It helps in survival.
Oh, we're going to discuss that in a minute. Yeah, there is a benefit to it as it. That's number 2. What's the benefit of this trait? What's the benefit in not being comfortable with status quo? Is that we would never gone past first grade. What do you mean? I know my ABCs. Okay, I'm fine. I need to read a big book also. I need to know algebra. I know enough. So there is a certain advantage in being pushed that I want to do more. And there's, of course, a drawback is that we never feel that we're fully satisfied, and we're not always so gracious, and we're not always so appreciative for the good that we have. And here is where the Torah introduces to us a very interesting concept. First of all, the most common non-Jewish concept, and people might think it's very religious and sounds really good, is that amassing a lot is greed or is negative. So don't amass a lot. Be a minimalist. That's not the Jewish approach. Not because Jews like to have a lot of things, but it's not the Torah approach, I should say. That's not what Torah teaches us. Torah says there's nothing wrong with having. We just said that there's a problem, there's a flaw in physical pursuit. I'm going to have more jewelry. I'm going to have another home. I'm going to have a nicer car. And there's no end to it. Okay, so maybe I should just go back to a broken clunker that could barely drive and a Casio watch. I'm not going to have any jewelry. Judaism doesn't believe in that. Torah does not believe in. What does Torah, believe in? What does Torah believe in? Something very interesting. And that is gratitude. And gratitude is actually not just a nice concept in Judaism, it's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah, and it's a focal point of the entire Torah. So much so, where I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. It's really exciting. So before I jump the gun and tell you about the power of gratitude, first let's see on page 18. Mickey, would you like to read 18 and then text 9, because they kind of go together?
The habit of gratitude.
Yeah.
Gratitude isn't merely a feeling, it's about articulating it. Jewish life is filled with small, intentional moments that prompt us to give thanks. These daily expressions don't just reflect our feelings, they shape them, gradually turning thankfulness into a mindset. And then the power of expression. When a person pours feelings of love into words, the act of speaking these words fuels and intensifies the love. Through speaking about it, the emotional energy radiates with more passion, and the person is aroused with more love and fondness for the beloved. The same applies to all emotions. When they are not expressed through speech, they are reduced until they completely dissipate. When they are expressed verbally, they augment and grow considerably.
right? So we always know the trick is that if you're angry, you wait 10 seconds to speak. Why? Because if you don't speak, the emotions will slowly subside. So think about it in the positive way. If you're excited about something and there's something good, there's something positive to share, a compliment, something good, something gratitude, verbalize it. Saying things with our mouth, people always ask, why in prayer do we say the words? Just read it with your eyes. Look at the words, read it like a book. But in Judaism, the mitzvah of prayer is also to say it. It's to say it in your heart, but also say the words. There's an important concept in Judaism to say words. When you make a blessing, why do I have to say the blessing? Say the blessing. What's going to happen if I say the blessing? So there's a lot that happens. But one of the things that happen is that you are expressing gratitude. And where is the basis of this concept of Jewish people expressing gratitude? Anyone knows what this is connected to the picture of fruit on the screen?
We can thank God for what He provides.
That's right. Ellen, would you please read at text number 10 on page 20? There was a ritual of gratitude.
First fruits declaration. God brought us out from Egypt with a strong hand and with an outstretched arm, with great awe and with miraculous signs and wonders. He brought us to this place, and He gave us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. Now, behold, I have brought the first of the fruit off the ground that you, God, have given me. And rejoice.
So over here, there's a mitzvah that the Jewish people had, was to bring bikurim. Bikurim was the first fruits. Every season, when the Jewish people moved into Israel, after being in the desert for 40 years, it was agriculture. That's what the society was based on. And there was a mitzvah that every year you should take the first fruits and bring them up to Jerusalem. And there was a special line that you're supposed to say. You have to verbalize it. It says vidui. Vidui means that it had to be expressed. And you're supposed to say these words. You say, He brought me out of this place, meaning He brought us out of Egypt, and He brought us into the land flowing with milk and honey. And behold, here are the first fruits that He gave me on these grounds. It's expressing thanks. Think about it. The Jewish people who were in Israel, the first generation, of course, they remembered it. Think about their children, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren, 300, 400 years later. They're living in Israel for hundreds of years, and it's so easy to be complacent. Be like, well, of course I live here. What do you mean? I'm a native of this place. Well, you got to remember. You got to give gratitude, and you have to verbalize it. Thank God for taking us out of Egypt. Oh, good point. Forgot about that. And for bringing us into this land, and for giving it to us, and for giving us this fruit. It's all of a sudden like, not gobble gobble. It's like, wait, wow, thanks for the apple. And what's the result of this? This is like literally just coming out in modern psychology. The last 20 years we have been discussing this concept about verbalizing appreciation and gratitude. Torah speaks about this over 2,000 years ago. The next line, Ellen. What happens when you do this?
And you shall rejoice in all the good.
There you go.
Rejoice in all the good that God has given you and your family.
Look at that. What's the automatic result of gratitude? Happiness. Happiness. It's not a commandment, you better rejoice. It's telling you this is what's going to happen. If you come up and annually you say, wow, thank you, God, so much for this, you know what's going to happen? You are going to be a happier person. You're going to rejoice with your family. You're going to rejoice with all the good that He gave you. You're going to be happy eating those peaches and plums. You're not going to just be like, well, of course I have peaches and plums. You don't take it for granted. And this is what is so powerful. And it says that Moshe, over here, the next, Laura, would you like to read text 11?
Ordinance of daily prayers. Moses foresaw that the temple would be destroyed and the offering of the first fruits would cease. He therefore ordained that the Jewish people shall pray 3 times a day.
Yeah. So he foresaw that the temple would ultimately be destroyed. And this practice is going to cease. When are people going to express their gratitude? And therefore, he instituted the concept of praying 3 times a day. Many places say that the reason that we pray 3 times a day have to do with the sacrifices that were in the temple. That also has place, and that's connected to that. But when we express our gratitude, that's ultimately what prayer is. And I heard a good, like a one-liner, which could be, again, dissected and discussed at length. There's Rabbi Emmanuel Shachat, who was a rabbi here in Toronto for many years. And he said that he shared, Mick, you got this? You got this? He shared a good one-liner, and he said, prayer, and I'm not going to go into this whole explanation, I'll tell you about it a little later. He said, prayer is not so as much about telling God, what you're impressed with him about, as much as it's telling yourself. It's reminding yourself. And this is where the concept of moda'ani. Every morning, there's a Jewish practice that we get up in the morning, and before we do anything, it's not a prayer, it's not Baruch Atah Hashem, it's not a blessing, it's not Shehechiyanu. We put our hands together, and yes, the Jews were the ones who started doing this, even though people think it comes from other religions. This is how it goes. You put your hands together, and you bow your head slightly, and you say these next words. Shlomo, could you read them for us? Page 12.
I thank you, living and eternal King.
Page 22, text 12, excuse me.
Yeah, that makes sense. That was going to be fun.
I thank you, living and eternal King, for mercifully restoring my soul within me. Your faithfulness is great.
So this is a passage of gratefulness. This is a passage of expressing gratitude. And there's a beautiful, beautiful concept about expressing gratitude that epitomizes a Jew. Does anyone know where the name Jew comes from?
Judea.
Judea. Why is Judea called Judea? What is it in Hebrew? Yehuda. Why is it Yehuda? Because of who is Yehuda? Who is Judah?
During
Son of Jacob.
That's right. Son of Jacob. One of the sons of Jacob. How did he get his name? What does Judah mean? What does Yehuda mean? If you know a little Hebrew, Hoda'ah. It says that in the Bible, in the Torah. This is not a nice explanation. It's not something that I made up. It says that his mother, Leah, was so excited that she was having a 4th son that she praised Hashem. She had Reuven, Shimon, Levi, and then she had Yehuda. Because she knew that there was 4 matriarchs, and she thought that everyone would have 3 children, and now she was having a 4th, so she had an extra debt of gratitude to pay. Hoda'a means gratitude. We are called, the Jewish people, the people of gratitude. This is what is every fiber of our being, is we are people of gratitude. This is what we're all about. It's just incredible. If you translate, Jewish people means gratitude people. We are naturally appreciative, and we naturally, or hopefully naturally, like to express our thanks. There's a blessing that we make. We made it at the beginning of the class, and there's a blessing that we make on many different foods. There's a blessing, hamotzi, which we might be familiar with. There's a blessing that we make on water, and on many other things that don't fall into a specific category of, like, wine has hagafa in it. Water is shahakol. Shahakol niya b'dvaro. Everything is created by God, which is a very inclusive blessing. So there was once a rabbi in Eastern Europe who came to a little restaurant. And he asked for a glass of tea. It was a little bit of a fancy restaurant. They had the whole, had violins playing. It was like a, 5-star, black tie restaurant. And he asked for a glass of tea, and he got the glass of tea, and he asked for the bill. He just wanted to come relax a little bit, drink some tea, and he asked for the bill, and it wasn't a few cents. It was an expensive drink. Yeah, and he asks the owner, he says, with all due respect, it was a great tea, but like, how much are you charging the markup? It's a tea bag, for heaven's sake. In hot water, how much could you charge already? I could have made it in my house. And he said, of course you could have made it in your house, but it's served to you on china, on a fancy, porcelain teacup, and it's served to you by a waiter, and you have the ambiance, the beautiful restaurant. You even have the orchestra playing. You're paying for all of that experience. And he told the owner, he says, you know what? Wow. Now I understand why when we make a blessing on tea, for example, or on soup or on water, we don't say thank you for the water. We say thank you for everything. Hashem created not just the water. He created our senses and he created the world. He gave us the whole experience. When we're sipping our glass of water, we're not sipping it in this void. We're sipping it in this beautiful world that he created for us. And thus we step into the last and final concept, and this is the concept of hakaras hatov, which is sharing gratitude. We could be grateful, or we could share gratitude. And here is the clincher. This is my favorite part of this entire class. Right now, what we're about to read, what we're about to hear, excuse me, what we're about to hear. And that is, there's a hypothetical scenario. It's called a mushal, a parable, or I'll give you a scenario. Let's say, for example, Sarah's walking down the street, she's walking down Royal York, and she sees a bar of chocolate wrapped up, clean, even in its bag still. And lo and behold, she picks it up. It looks pretty unidentifiable, meaning it's not in like a personal purse. It's like in a bag. So like, and she looks at it, and it has a kosher symbol. Not bad. It's a nice chocolate. So she goes to her rabbi and she asks, are you allowed to take it? Or you're not? There's laws about taking things that you find, lost object, if it could be identified, if it's outside CVS and there's a bar of chocolate, you're never going to find the owner of it. And she's told that she could have it. She enjoys it. How much did she enjoy the chocolate bar? Possibly immensely. She enjoyed it. Who doesn't like a chocolate bar? They say the female gender enjoy chocolate even more. So she enjoyed the chocolate. Now, take, for example, the same Sarah. She comes to work the next day, and lo and behold, the same exact bar of chocolate is on her desk. But this time, it's with a little note. And it says, Sarah, we really love the work you do here. You're a valuable employee and teammate. Have a great day. Which chocolate bar did she enjoy more?
That
So same ingredients, it's the same package, same exact chocolate bar. The package that came with the appreciation was an experience. It's the same bar. I know, but it's the whole thing. It's everything around it. This is the difference. And hear this. This is the difference when we are grateful, when a person, non-Jewish person who's secular, who doesn't appreciate the concept of thanking God, when we are just appreciative. When she picked up the bar, she was very appreciative, and she might have been grateful. Wow, thanks for the bar. When she has an address, she knows that her boss or her manager took the time to come in and buy the chocolate bar for her.
Cool. That's more.
That is a really good feeling.
Of course.
There's a lot of people who have gratitude journals, and it's a big thing in psychology, and it's a healthy thing and wonderful. But I would suggest, and I would argue, that when we're grateful and when we show our appreciation to someone, to God, it is so much more powerful than being thankful. I am so thankful that I'm thankful for the life I have. I'm thankful for the dinner I have. Imagine if you would replace it, I'm thankful to someone for it. All of a sudden, it has a different feeling. Whether you're the one giving the chocolate bar or receiving it, you have that. It gives that whole different feeling. When someone is, you could be thankful for the dinner you had, or you could be thankful to your mother who made you that delicious dinner. What's more powerful? Where is the gratitude so much more, felt? When you're thankful to someone, it has an address, it becomes real. This is what the Moda'ani is, and this is what Judaism's perspective on gratitude is. And this is what, gives us the ability to verbalize our thanks, give thanks, and this is ultimately one we're going to discuss next week a little bit more, a very interesting perspective about, how we could view ourselves and where we come into the picture with happiness. But here, it's about showing gratitude. And when we show gratitude, we feel better. And this brings us an immense amount of happiness. And I printed this for everyone. We made these cards, and it was specifically light and bright and exciting. And I have a little bit of a challenge for everyone. And maybe this is a great opportunity to show our gratitude. Every morning when we wake up, we say this line, and I printed it in Hebrew, English, and the transliteration. So you can do any one that suits you. And we show thanks. I thank you, living and enduring King, for you have graciously returned my soul within me. Great is your faithfulness. Great is your faithfulness means God trusts us. He says, I'm giving you your soul, even though I'm not sure how your day is going to be, but I'm sure you're going to do a good job. And so we're thanking God. So you could wake up and say, I feel great. I got my soul back. I'm alive. I woke up this morning. You ask some people, hey, how's the day going? Oh, well, I woke up. That's great. But imagine you say, well, God gave me back my soul. It's not just I woke up. There's someone, something, there's this incredible being of God who gave me my soul with great faithfulness. He gave it to me and said, I trust you. I trust you with this. My most valuable thing, a soul. Here you go. Take it. Do well with it. And that's really wraps up.
Rabbi, can I add something?
Sure.
A quick.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to ask people, do they not do that already? Because I do it before I sleep. I would do it the minute I wake up in the middle of the night.
I'm not, God forbid, saying that people don't do it.
No, but people are in here. Let's say what I'm asking is, would it be?
You want a confession from everyone?
Pardon?
You want a confession?
No, not a confession. I've learned this by heart, this sentence.
That's beautiful.
But I don't, I say it in English.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Lord, for grief. In English, I say, thank you, living eternal King, for restoring my soul.
That's beautiful.
And then I add my brain, my heart, my this, my that, my eyes, my breath. But maybe there are many people who do that here.
Maybe. And if you are,
nice to ask.
I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but thank you for sharing.
Maybe they do already.
It could be. It could be they do.
They do. Am I right?
I'm sure there's many people who express gratitude in different ways. This is a prescription gratitude, ritualized gratitude, telling you this is a great way. You take a dose of this every morning, you'll be a happier person. And let's get to the conclusion right here. The journey to greater joy demands a practical commitment to strive to draw happiness from the various blessings in our life. So it's a responsibility. We have to actively, just like keeping healthy takes a commitment. We have to make sure we're eating the right foods or exercising or whatever it might be. A job takes a commitment. Being happy takes a commitment. And that is, the key lies in implementing gratitude into our routines, transforming acknowledgement into a source of happiness. And thus, we can appreciate what gratitude does to ourselves. I'm going to go through next week's journey. So I have to say, we have a class scheduled for next Wednesday. I didn't realize we have a conference of Chabad rabbis, an international conference of Chabad rabbis, next week on the weekend. So I'm going to be going to New York for that. There's going to be close to 6,000 Chabad rabbis that get together. It's a convention, and it's an opportunity to meet, to brainstorm.
Do that every year.
So I ended up getting a flight for Wednesday night instead of Thursday morning, to be honest. So I was like, okay, great. We'll do the class Tuesday night. But Tuesday night, Chaya is doing a babka and challah bake. So, and then Monday night, there's a dinner. There's like, and Sunday night there's a C-team. So thank God we're very busy here. And I might have to say that next week we're going to pause. We're not going to have a class together, but the following week we will. So we were supposed to end December 10th. We might end the following week. So if there's a week that's a little open and we want to do a Sunday class also, I don't know. But for now, next week we're off, and then the following week we're back on. So I just want to, I'll send out an email to let you know that as well.
Thank you, Rabbi.
And let's go through the key points quickly.
Can I ask a quick question? Can we do the Zoom sometimes if the bad weather?
We're on Zoom.
No. Next, let's say in 2-3 weeks, if there's bad weather and I don't want to.
We're always going to have it in person, but you're welcome if you're not able to come on Zoom. There's a number of people on Zoom tonight.
Okay, perfect.
But
Thank you.
Being here is always has a special. Besides for, of course, the sushi and the soup, but there's always the special social get together. So let's go through these key points so that we can appreciate that. And we see next week is going to be the journey of yourself, staying honest, humble, and happy. It's very interesting because here we were speaking about perspective in our mind. And then next week next class, we're gonna focus a little bit inwardly in where happiness lies, and it gets interesting. So I'm already licking my lips for the next class. It's gonna be great. Key points. Let's see if I can get that. Daniel, would you like to begin?
Okay, where am I?
27.
Key points.
Page.
27.
There you go.
27.
Yep. 27.
Getting there.
Yep.
I knew you were always about 27.
Key points. Happiness leads to success in many areas of life because A, it is easier to accomplish difficult tasks from a state of enthusiasm and happiness. B, while we are blessed with many talents and strengths, their full power often remains dormant. Joy drives our potential to flow outward. C, when we are happy, we create joy in the divine realm. This supernal ecstasy results in the flow of increased blessing.
There you go. That was something very powerful that we learned. Yeah. Number 2, please.
The letters forming the Hebrew word besimcha, am I pronouncing this okay? Okay.
Perfect.
With joy are the same letters that spell machshava, thought. Happiness is a product of our thought process and attitudes, not our circumstances. Abundance.
Very powerful.
Yes.
Simone, would you like to read 3?
Abundance do not necessarily lead to more happiness because when we have been surrounded by a superabundance of blessings since our youth, we tend not to notice them. B, furthermore, when we obtain something new, we experience a spike of joy. But as we quickly adapt to the fresh circumstance, the joy withers away. This is why humans have an unquenchable thirst for more. We crave a repeat of the temporary spike of joy.
Okay.
Sounds like sugar.
Yeah, basically. Number 4.
When emotions are not verbally expressed, they are diminished and they dissipate. When they are verbally expressed, they flourish and are amplified. By focusing on and talking about the blessing in our lives, we foster happy emotions. By focusing less on what we're missing, we allow our negative feelings to dissipate.
Okay. Jacob.
Ritualizing gratitude at fixed intervals allows us to reap happiness from which we have. Judaism has a built-in system of rituals that facilitates a steady expression of gratitude for all the blessings in our life.
Okay, thank you. Number 6.
We ought to be grateful not only for the gifts we have, but also for the fact that they are provided by someone who cares. Realizing that God loves us and cares for us is perhaps an even greater source of happiness than the gifts themselves.
There you go. I think that was powerful. That was beautiful. And thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of it. For those on Zoom, thanks for joining. Looking forward to you being able to attend in person. And regardless, let's be in touch for you to pick these up.
Rabbi